Right, morning everyone. This is the SA Soccer Mag and MoneyMan show, but without the MoneyMan. I believe he's in Ireland on a very fast-moving train at the moment. So he sent in his predictions for today, and Dylan and myself are just going to run through our predictions, reflect a little bit on last week, and try and capture some of the MoneyMan's essence in his absence. Dylan, do you want to just take us through how we all did last week with the predictions? Not too well.
Last week was a bit of a rough week. You and Kev got 5 out of the 10. I got 4. That Brighton West Ham result was really one of the spanner in the works. So you're now in the lead with 18 so far this season. I'm in second with 17, and Kev's on third with 16.
Yeah, I mean it's always good to be in the lead, but long season, and I think you said in a voice note to me after the Liverpool game, I think a loss that we all happy to. I know Kev's a lead supporter, but Liverpool's his second side, I believe. For us, it's our first side. For you, it's your first everything. So yeah, you said you take that loss in your prediction any day of the week for that kind of result.
Predictions at the end of the day, they don't mean much. I'd rather get the 3 points.
Exactly. Do you want to chat a bit about just that Liverpool-Newcastle game? Probably the highlight of last weekend in terms of a match as well. Actually, I actually thought, to be honest, I didn't find the first 45 minutes a particularly enjoyable 45 minutes of football, but I did find that second half really entertaining, despite the fact that it didn't look hopeful for a lot of it.
Yeah, I think, that first half an hour, Liverpool were in serious trouble. I think that Anthony Gordon was cooking Trent, and he was struggling. He was struggling to do anything. Fortunate to not be given a second yellow that early on, but his first yellow was pretty, dodgy already. He was fouled, but then... I think the whole thing about that game was that there was a lot of inconsistency in the officiating. The ref came out the blocks firing. He was booking players quickly for what he's meant to be booking players for, but very quickly he just couldn't hold on to it. I think the crowd got to him. But overall, I think that first 45 Newcastle were very dominant. Liverpool played worse with 11 men than when they played with 10 men. I think when they went down to 10 men, their organization was really good. They completely dominated. I wouldn't say they completely dominated, but they were so difficult to break down.
Well, you kind of got the sense there was like the Liverpool of a few seasons ago, where there was that pack mentality around, regaining possession. It's like a guy misses a tackle, and you would find 2-3 guys closing him down. It didn't look as lackluster as we've seen.
No, 100%. I think that. The fact that this season there seems to be a lot more legs in midfield, because I think last season Liverpool lose that game. I think Henderson, Fabinho, they can't run for 90 minutes, but whereas Szoboszlai and McAllister can, which is a huge difference. I mean, the fact that, playing for 10 men for nearly an hour, a week after playing for 10 men for another half an hour, to still be in the game against one of the best teams in the league with 10 minutes to go and steal a win.
I mean, we saw those two midfielders really kind of, I think, for the first time in this Premier League season so far, very noticeable performances. I think probably just because of how much work they had to actually do as well. So I think, bodes well. You don't want to take too much from it, but you'd rather be sitting here discussing, how you move forward from that than it was an expected loss. I think the other unexpected result of the weekend, obviously West Ham Brighton. West Ham completely smashed them.
That was the one. That was like, in my opinion, I don't know. It felt like David Moyes channeled his inner Jose Mourinho. It was like he went to Brighton and they had 20% possession, and they scored 3 goals.
Yeah,
like Brighton were 3-0 down, and we were predicting the score to be reversed, like 3-1 to Brighton. And they had a lot of chances, but West Ham just it was probably one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. I was not expecting that at all. I mean,
how much do you read into it? Brighton are now hosting Newcastle at home, and the bookies have it pretty evenly stacked. Odds are 2.45 on a Brighton home win. 2.65 on a Brighton home and 2.45 on a Newcastle away win. It's interesting. I mean, if this weekend of results hadn't happened, do you think the odds would have been the same? It's like, you kind of look at the two teams and maybe expect higher odds on Newcastle or lower odds on Newcastle rather. Do you see Brighton kind of bouncing back from this? Or
I think the interesting thing about that result was that the way West Ham played was like very interesting. Was that they weren't getting baited. So like Brighton, usually they like that you've seen all the times where De Zerbi tells the centre backs, put your foot on the ball and wait for them to press you. West Ham were just like, put your foot on the ball, bro. Like, I don't mind just watching you with the ball.
Yeah.
And like they could not. West Ham were not taking the bait at all, and that's I think why Brighton struggled. But I think Newcastle will take the bait this weekend because Newcastle, they play on the front foot. They want to dominate a game. They want to get the 3 points. They're not content to just sit back
for sure
and just absorb pressure. I think that doesn't suit them. I think just even though against Liverpool for a large part of the game they were in control, I think that they want to prove a point. They've played 2 very difficult games. They've played Liverpool at home and they've played Man City away. And even though they lost both those games, they were on the finest margins. I think they know that they can't lose this next game because then they're potentially 7-8 points behind their rivals after 4 games.
Yeah.
They have to go for the win this weekend, I think.
For sure. Yeah. Well, then let's just get stuck straight into the predictions for the weekend. We've got a fantastic game on Friday evening. Got a Luton Town versus West Ham. So because Kev always thinks we are copying him, I'm going to put his prediction down last.
Okay.
Do you want to kick us off with what you think?
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting game from Luton's point of view because this is their first ever Premier League game at home, ever. So I think their fans will be up for it. I think the atmosphere will probably be pretty crazy. West Ham, they seem to be in very good form. I mean, back-to-back 3-1 wins against Chelsea and Brighton. I think they'll...
It's 2 big results for them.
I think, we predicted both of those games for them to take a loss, and they've won both comfortably. Or I wouldn't say comfortably, but scoreline-wise comfortably.
Yeah.
I think Luton will probably score a goal, but I think West Ham... But it'll be classic Premier League fashion that Luton come away and steal a win here or something.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to go 2-1 West Ham.
No, I'm definitely going to go the same. I think the emotion behind a first home game almost gives Luton a goal, But I think West Ham probably show their class in the long run over 90 minutes, and I also think 2-1. Can't speak for Kev's reasoning, but he's got the Hammers to go 3-1. I'd venture to say, I'd venture to say that's the previous 2 weeks' results. So, all right, we're all backing a Hammers win away at Luton. Saturday doesn't get much more interesting. We've got Sheffield United versus Everton.
That's going to be the worst game of the weekend. I think as the weeks go by, Everton get worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, they scraped past, I think it was Doncaster Rovers in the League Cup, like a day lost, or I think it was Wednesday night. I think Everton are just terrible. I think that they'll lose, I'm going to say 1-0 to Sheffield. I just think Everton can't score a goal. The fact that they go, I think it was 1-0 down against Doncaster in League 2, and they struggle to get back.
I mean, I saw a tweet this morning kind of just giving Everton's, I think it's 6 goals conceded, 0 goals scored, and 3 losses. Someone just wrote, if Everton don't go down this season, they never will, What a fall from grace for that club. Not that they were at particularly high heights recently, but the past 3 years have been rough. Interestingly, Everton are favoured to go to Sheffield and win. If you were a betting man, which I think by the end of this year you might be, do you take Sheffield at 3-1 to win at home against Everton?
I think that Sheffield haven't been particularly great this season either, but against Man City, they were in it until the last few minutes. I think they're really troubled. I think Man City, they had to really scrape to get that win. I mean, Rodri, 88th, 89th minute winner against arguably the best team in the Premier League.
30 shots.
Yeah, but if City are having 30 shots at you and they're only scoring 2, you're doing something right.
For sure.
I think Everton are just, like we've been saying, the fact that Sheffield can stay in the game against Manchester City, there's a high chance, in my opinion, that they'll be able to beat Everton, who have lost every game this season. Haven't scored a goal yet in the Premier League. Haven't scored a goal yet. So I think 1-0 Sheffield is solid.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Sheffield as well. I just don't see Everton going away and scoring. And I think it's a bet that I might actually take this weekend to 3-1 on a home side. Still early in the season. I think that's when home ground advantage, also especially for the lower sides, counts more is towards the start of the season. Squad legs, less tired, there's still a lot of emotion riding. I'm going to take them 1-0. I think I might put a tickle down, as Kev would say, on Sheffield United to win. Kevin's prediction is 2-1. So MoneyMan says that Everton will get their first goal, but to no avail.
Yeah, I think every week I've backed Everton to get their first goal and they haven't yet, so I'm just going to keep it that way. Yeah,
I suppose if there's one of the teams to do it against, probably Sheffield, but we'll see. Moving on to Chelsea, Nottingham Forest for the weekend. I mean, Chelsea fans probably happy last week. Kind of performance we haven't seen from Raheem Sterling in a while.
Yeah, sure.
Really great to see. They're heavily favoured to win against Nottingham Forest here. Do you read into their sort of poor starts of the season, or do you think their squad starts taking shape now and they start winning these sort of games quite comfortably?
I think Luton at home is probably the perfect game to kick off your season. Chelsea, they were pretty dominant overall. I think Sterling, probably the best game he's ever played for Chelsea since he signed. Nicholas Jackson getting off the mark's also huge. Get his confidence up. Forest, I think, is a tough game though. I mean, 2-0. They were 2-0 up against United.
Yeah.
And United really sweated. They were sweating that game. I think it was this late penalty to win it after a couple controversial decisions. I think Chelsea should win this game, but I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park by any means. I've won 2-1 Chelsea.
Right, I don't think Nottingham Forest score, but I don't think Chelsea blow them away. I've won 2-0 to Chelsea. Yeah. Let's see. Interestingly, Kev's gone for a 1-1 between Chelsea and Forest. The odds on that are 5-1. So
that's probably wise.
It's pretty high. If you are, I don't know, maybe the MoneyMan has some insight that we don't. So if you're looking for, if you're looking for an interesting, that's why he's in Ireland, the home of gambling. So 5-1 on a draw there. If you want to follow the MoneyMan, he's gone for a 1-1 draw, Chelsea and Forest. Not great games this weekend. We move along to Brentford, Bournemouth. Look, not too much to read into this. I think Brentford are pretty heavily favoured, and rightly so. I like the look of them. I think Brentford are going to win this 2-0 at home.
Yeah, I also think Brentford will win. I think, that's the result last weekend for Brentford. That was pretty surprising. I think we all backed them to win.
Yeah.
But, Brentford are also, I wouldn't say they're as good as Brighton, but they have that thing about them where they can beat anyone on any day, and they play a pretty attractive style of football. I think that Bournemouth haven't been bad this season at all. They haven't done well necessarily getting results, but they've been terrible to play against. Every team that's played against them has not had an easy game of it. But I think Brentford will take this one 2-1.
Okay. The MoneyMan has got Brentford to take a 2-0 as well. So doesn't see Bournemouth scoring, but I think we're all in agreement on a win there. Next up, we have Burnley versus Spurs. Is this the kind of game that Spurs should win that they end up bottling? I mean, the bookies have them at 1.85, which isn't as comfortable as one would generally expect if you just look at the names of both the sides. But Spurs are a weird team. What are your thoughts on?
I think, Burnley... Okay, they got beaten relatively comfortably against Aston Villa, but it was their first home game of the season. I could see them starting to get a bit of a rhythm. Lyle Foster scored their first goal, which was just a pretty good goal. It was a solid goal. I think those Spurs, they settling in, like the players are getting comfortable playing with each other. I think that they should take this one though. I think I've gone 2-1 again for Spurs.
I'm going I'm going 2-1 to Spurs as well.
I feel like 2-1 is going to be the main scoreline this weekend because it's just not very exciting games. You know, not a lot of high scoring games. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to really see any blowouts this weekend. It's one of those where it's like sides at the one side just edges it a little bit in quality, you know. I think what we're seeing a lot is the weaker side playing at home in these games, you know.
Which is difficult then because Spurs are objectively better than Burnley, but you cannot say Burnley are going to lie down in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Kev's gone with a 2-1, so it's 2-1 for the money man, 2-1 for Dill, and 2-1 for me to Spurs as well. So all in agreement there.